In this lesson, we're going to discuss how to name polynomials. So all polynomials can be named using two things. They can be named by the degree that they have, and they can be named based on the number of terms that they have. So let's take a quick look at how these are named. So a constant. So a constant means that it has degree 0 or just no x whatsoever. Okay, so that's what a constant means. So notice that example of 5 doesn't have any x on it. It's just a number. So that's why we label it a constant. And then it's named a monomial because there's only one part to it, one term to it. Linear. Linear means that you have degree 1. So that means just an x with no power on it, okay? Because remember, a power of 1, you don't have to necessarily show it. So because of that, that's how you know that it is linear. And we call it a binomial because it has two terms. Quadratic. You should be familiar with the term quadratic. Quadratic is a term 2 polynomial, so degree 2. And in this example is a monomial because it only has one term. Mono meaning one. Cubic because it's degree 3. And then trinomial because it has 1, 2, 3 terms in it. Quartic. Quartic means it is a 4th degree polynomial. Then binomial because it has 1, 2 terms in it. Quintic is a 5th degree polynomial. And now notice this. 1, 2, 3, 4 terms. Once you get to 4 or above, there's no special names for it anymore, so you just label it as polynomial of 4 terms. Now, something that I want you to recognize here is notice all of the names based on number of terms end in nomial. Okay, they all have that in common. So when you're naming by number of terms, that's the nomial name. Monomial, binomial, trinomial. The name by degree has less consistency to it, but again, it's things, you've heard those words before. We spent an entire chapter on quadratics. You learned linear things for years. So it's just recognizing how to name these, okay? So when you're doing your practice work, I'd recommend have this table out just so you can kind of help yourself along the way, refresh your memory on those terms in case you forget. But let's do some of our own examples, shall we? So, to name by degree. By degree means you're looking at the exponent. This one has a degree of 2, an exponent of 2, so that's going to be a quadratic. And if you look, it has 1, 2 terms to it. So based on the terms, that's going to make this a binomial. So to name by degree, I look at my exponent. This is degree 3, so that's going to make it a cubic polynomial. And it has 1, 2, 3 terms to it. 3 terms makes it a trinomial. The degree of this next one, well, there is no exponent on the x, which means it's a 1. And that's going to make this linear. And it has 1, 2 terms to it. 2 terms is going to make it a binomial. All right. Now, the one thing I want to point out to make sure that we remember, make sure that your polynomial is in standard form before you try to name it. So all the ones we've already done were already in standard form, but it's something you should be watching for. You need to make sure you write it in standard form, because if you don't, you may misname it. So this one needs to be written in standard form first. So I notice the 3x squared, then the 2x, and now -6 plus 1 is going to be a -5. So you would misname it if you didn't put it in standard form, because now that it's in standard form, now you can see it has a degree 2, so it's a quadratic, and you can see that it has 1, 2, 3 terms, so it is a trinomial. But again, if it's not a standard form, you wouldn't be able to easily see that. So there are all of your naming techniques. So as always, please make sure you have all of this written down and then come and ask me if you have any questions.